Hey there, welcome to episode 44 of the FFS Talk audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at about 8:30 in the morning on Thursday, September 26, 2024. I have to tell you, maybe 45 minutes ago, my voice was great. At the moment, I don't know what's going on, but we'll see. We'll see if it gets better. I might make some tea. I might pause mid-show, make some hot tea. So we shall see, but today, again, the 26th of September, episode 44, got those knocked out. Today we will speak about adopting modernity. That just means making use of the stuff that we have around us. If you are unfamiliar, the FFS Talk audio program is intended to be about things that work, things that do not, and what we can do about it. A little bit of optimism, a bit of lighting a candle rather than cursing the darkness, although there's plenty of darkness to curse. If you don't know what FFS means, you need to meet more Irish people. Hopefully, wherever you have found this audio program, you will find the episode description, which contains show notes, a brief summary, which I will read, and a couple of links to shameless self-promotion as usual, to really just telling you what modernity is if you're not aware. Who knows? Maybe you're stuck in 1957, 1759, some permutation of who knows how many digits. So let us begin this episode while my voice is still functioning. We are surrounded by the most cutting-edge technology ever conceived or even imagined by humans, with, among other benefits, more access to more information than most can fathom. Yet we appear to be growing less and less connected, less and less aware, and certainly less and less secure in our daily travels and travails. What is going on? By the way, you might say to yourself, conceived and imagined, those are like the same thing. I think imagined comes first and then conceived. You can imagine something like Star Trek communicators, and then you can conceive of a way to implement a Star Trek communicator and arguably influencing the development of cell phones, mobile phones. The links for today's episode, the shameless self-promotion, the first two, as always, buymeacoffee.com/danhugo and ko-fi.com/danhugo, ko-fi.com/danhugo. No obligation to spend any money or buy anything in any way. I use these to keep contact with people if they're curious. You can always venture over to one of those, and especially buymeacoffee.com/danhugo, which does have links to all of my audio programs. I do produce 4 different audio programs each week. In addition, I point to some of my projects that I'm working on and so on. So you can be a part in some small way of what I'm looking to accomplish. All of my projects are powered by coffee. Sometimes money helps, but any money that comes in through either of these sites would go towards the coffee part of that budget. The rest is falling from the sky. Modernity. What is modernity? Well, the 2 links that follow are to Wikipedia and Britannica, encyclopedia. The Britannica website has a reasonable article. The Wikipedia entry talks more about the definition of different periods of modernity, so you can kind of combine them, or you can roll your own. Basically, the notion is, it is not 1957, nor is it 1759. It is 2024, soon to be 2025. Pardon me. We have an embarrassment of riches around us. We should take better advantage of that, in my opinion, than we are. And so maybe we should do that. Maybe we should try. And that is the topic of today's show. And by the way, as always, every single FFS audio program, FFS Talk, is intended to be a conversation starter wherein someone might want to join in the conversation, talk about their views about any number of topics. We're on episode 44 after all, so there are a bunch of things ready and able to be discussed. So what is this modernity thing? What do we have? This is not a complete or exhaustive list by any means, of course. This is just a seed for discussion. Technology is only a part of our modern times, though certainly a huge part. As a disclaimer, I am a technologist. I have been an engineer since my academic interlude at Harvey Mudd College came to an end with my commencement, and about 30 years in the industry in various ways. So I am a little bit biased to think with a technology lens in front of me, rose-colored. But technology, there's no doubt about it, makes a huge part of our modern day. It often skews decision-making, and people think that they can convert entire communities, cities, counties, planets based on the technology that they themselves are developing. Speaking of conflict of interest, perhaps taking a perhaps technology is taking a bigger slice, it's taking a bigger slice of our modernity as AI takes over, though with less to learn from perhaps. You can wait for the day, since this has already happened. They already are able to train on simulated data, whatever that means. I don't know if that's as good as the real thing, but eventually there will be AI learning from AI that will quote unquote work, because now you can detect when AI is training on AI generated data, not simulated data, AI data, generative AI. If you train your A model on a book written by AI, I was going to say, you as a human will be able to tell. The question is, can the AI, can your artificial intelligence models and infrastructure understand when there's garbage in leading to garbage out and so on? So interesting times ahead. But for the moment, technology rules, and there's really no way around that. Part of this tech platform is unparalleled access to information about just about anything, almost instantly, and possibly factual. It's a little bonus. When I was growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, Quest, QWEST, had a series of commercials about their eventual demise, but they couched it as deployment of fiber optic cable for internet connectivity. And I was still living in Arizona, and they were convinced that their system would enable access to any movie or any bit of information in general, anywhere, anytime, at scale. Well, we're kind of there. Quest may not have been as much a part of it as they hoped, but barring undersea cable, oceanic cable, transatlantic cable, cuts, satellite outages, sunspots, for the most part, you can get at information just about anywhere, anytime, almost instantly. And if it's factual, so much the better. And nearly anyone can contribute back to this cacophony. So you can add to the stream. You can get a YouTube channel. You can even do something silly like have a podcast, with or without guests. Still counts. As well, in addition to publishing all manner of chaos on media platforms, your TikToks, your Twitch, your YouTube, Instagram, classic platforms that apparently still exist, like X and Facebook, and I think MySpace is still available. I logged into my account recently, and it's not much, but I still have a MySpace account. Go figure. We can communicate with most people on the planet, individually or in smaller groups, with near zero delay. If you've ever made an international phone call, maybe 30 years ago, there was often reflection, delay. Sometimes you would see it on satellite broadcasts of newscasters who are out in the field. So there's delay and the choppy pictures and so on. We are only getting access to better, more real-time, more reliable communications, in addition to that access to information in general. And it's practical. Oh, yeah. And so that was an Amazon product speaking to me. These are practically free. Now, you probably have to pay for devices and your monthly internet connection, your internet service provider, or whatever it is. But if we round these numbers out, you are no longer waiting until after 7 p.m. to make a long-distance phone call at the reduced long-distance rate. You're no longer concerned about making an international phone call, which may have cost, $1 a minute or something crazy like that. So pretty much communication has become a commodity. Access to information has become a commodity. Communication in general, whether it's with people or systems, resources, pretty much commodity. But wait, there's still more. Medical technology is its own sector, of course, is obviously beyond our imaginations. Cost, controversy, got plenty of both. But aside from broken thinking that would legislate to the contrary, there are fewer and fewer reasons someone who has access to even trailing edge medical resources doesn't have a substantial chance. I wrote change. Must be some sort of subliminal message. So a chance of surviving their maladies. If you are sick and you can get to a hospital, the golden hour, as they call it, if you can reach a hospital within an hour, your chances, I haven't looked this up lately, but your chances of surviving whatever has befallen you go up substantially. Not universally, but substantially. Universal truth, it's hard to come by, but we are a long way from amputations and leeches, and you'd think this would be a good thing. Transportation of people and goods, unparalleled and largely reliable, and more so over the last 50 years or so in particular. Plane crashes are rare. Piracy on the open waters has been more rare, but it is very rare. Attacks on supply chains, rare. Safe travels, free from attack and pirates, and crashes and dangers and chaos. They've kind of become the norm. So much so that when something does go wrong, when a plane goes down, it is big news because it is not common. Those of us who were around in the 70s and 80s, there would be a plane crash now and then. There would be a hijacking now and then. There would be people walking onto a plane with a gun or a bomb, and they would say, "Take me to Cuba," or "Take me to Ohio," and or wherever they wanted to go. So many things have changed. Obviously, things got a little weird in the first part of the 21st century. But for the most part, you can get most places on the planet pretty easily. Couple this, the ability to transit and transport, coupled with a global economy and supply chains that encircle the world a few times, many have access to more for less than ever before. And they can visit the origins where those things come from in many cases if they want. You can visit wherever it is your jeans or your shoes or your food, your vegetables. Where'd those avocados come from? Well, what day is it? You can probably go to where they came from, or you can get pretty close. And it won't take months on a ship. It won't take, well, just get yourself to the airport. That part is not free. Nutritious food and potable water are overabundant in some places, almost to, wasting food is a sin? It probably is. Not so much in other places. Despite what I just said, it is difficult, often politically, to share the wealth, even with our transportation resources. That's what I just said, that we can get things to most places easily, but for political boundaries and political strife. We can transport resources and abilities to move these critical items and modern medical services into some regions is, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. There really, technically speaking, is no legitimate reason any human being on the planet today should starve or go without potable water. That is water free from amoeba, from sewage, from other awful things. Potable water, nutritious food, there is enough. There is, for now. And there are the resources to transport it. And there are the resources to communicate the needs to transport it. There are the abilities to measure weather, to choose ideal ideal crop planting and rotation times. It is climate change that is something to be concerned about. But in general, we can move. Will we move these things around? Well, global supply chains are getting a little weird. So why do we not have a better handle on all of this? These are my opinions, and this is, again, a show that will hopefully begin a conversation. We can go down the list of riches I've just summarized very quickly. Your personally identifying information is compromised. There's really no question at this point. Many times over, more recent breaches like National Data Systems in Florida, which apparently lost billions with a B, that's billions of records with names, address history, social security numbers, basically anything you would need to prove that you are you. Now someone else has all of that. Billions allegedly for people who are not even around anymore. So why not assume the identity of a person who has passed away? Sounds good, I guess. So there is no more social security number that you need to keep private or secret in any way. It was ill-conceived and has been misused and has now crossed over into useless. It's too bad. The information, well, and that just means that some of our systems in use today that rely on those are not adopting modernity. We're still using the number from the 40s. Come on. The information we do have access to is often chaotic and unverified. Whatever that even means anymore. The notions of authority and veracity have become politicized with everything else. Anything we encounter almost anywhere, online or not, is subject to judgment, and often it could go either way, depending on who's asking. You can chalk that up to motivated reasoning, availability bias, availability heuristics, I guess, selection bias. Did I say confirmation bias? We hear what we want to hear, and there are only more places to hear it from, thanks to our modern communication platform. The reach is vast. The value, questionable. We communicate with digital megaphones, reaching huge populations with multimedia performance. Not necessarily educating, we're performing. We're doing it on podcasts like this, perhaps, but on video, taking provocative images, pictures, generating visualizations, editing together video to make a point. We are performing. We prefer to send direct messages or use insecure messaging platforms than speak directly, making use of easily available tools, which may or may not be legal where you are, to encrypt our private conversations. I always point this out to people. Email has been around for a long time, and I know people don't like it for some reason. It does work. It is remarkably resilient. It does enable you to encrypt, to sign, to indicate in some way that it probably is you. There is no reason for phishing attacks in this modern day, or at least the number of reasons should drop down to, one, carelessness. AI will begin sending you very convincing messages that you will be hard pressed to not click on because they just seem so real and convincing. There's really no reason for this. We send DMs. We don't email. We don't respond to emails. We don't pick up a phone, whatever that even means anymore. We can speak to people. We can speak to them directly. Let's get in on a video chat with 12 other people. You can do that, but the ability to communicate with anyone you need to or want to communicate with now for almost zero cost seems to have made that less appealing. Maybe it's the old don't walk on the grass. No, keep off grass. So people want to walk on the grass. You have many ways to communicate. I choose none. And by the way, the digital megaphones, we don't read the comments. That's even a thing. We say what we want to say. We monetize what we can, and we don't always care what people think. Shows up in the views and the likes. We can be shown all of the science behind particular medical developments, yet we believe comedians and pundits who prefer the opposite of science. Their contrarian views are spread easily with our modern communication platforms, yet the science, not so much. It sounds good. Well, I've talked about this before. When your confirmation bias is satisfied by someone saying, that thing you're thinking, that's probably wrong, I agree with you, and so do all of my listeners or viewers. It'll make you feel good. Our global supply chains have become politicized and logistically challenging due to sheer volume and various geopolitical kerfuffles across geographies, near and far. This will have various levels of impact, different localities from various levels of impact on different localities. Let me update that real quick. On different localities from economic to food access to medical supply, and some points between we don't even fully realize until they happen. You can listen to or watch various presentations from Peter Zahan, however you'd like to pronounce his name. I think he says Zahn. Zahn. You can't miss him. I've just heard the other day a comment. Whoever it was said I was speaking to him, and I have never, in my presence on this planet, I have never encountered anyone who is more certain about what they are saying than Peter Zahn. I personally have read his books, I have seen his presentations, and I can concur with that. And I'm only using as an example here. I'm not here to fan, but he is quite certain, and he does do the research. And I believe most of the arguments are, "Oh, you said it would be 10 years, and it wasn't 10 years." And it's difficult to make predictions down to like 1 year resolution. I prefer to think of him as predicting things in time, like almost like a log scale. It's going to be in the next 10 years or 100. So if it's in the next 12, 15, but it's not in the next 100. But he makes some assertions about the availability of resources, and if you ever want to read some interesting stories, read about what's the island? Any island, and I don't know if this is still true. I believe it is. Any island within reach of the United States Navy, probably, that was to be discovered as a source of basically a landing spot for guano from birds or any other such animals. That's poop, or sometimes also called potassium-rich fertilizer. America would lay claim to that island and to all of its contents. Ukraine, very rich source of potassium or potassium-based resources that are essential for agriculture. There are other places. The bottom line, America, the United States, is in a pretty good position, but generally speaking, without the sharing of resources for the sake of global agriculture and global food in general, things will get interesting. We have the technology and the resources to avoid that if we can figure it out. Speaking of food, access to the elements essential for food production may become less convenient in the near term. So potassium is one, but it could be water. It could be other soil nutrients. It could be access to the soil itself, our soil use, topsoil, nutrient-rich topsoil, all the available gases and elements and nutrients for the plants themselves that are essential for the animals that we sometimes want to make part of our food chain. It will be less convenient to get them, but they also may not be so easily available. The impact on crops, thanks to climate change, and whether those the resources essential for agriculture will remain in good enough supply. I read somewhere in my travels that just the maintenance of topsoil, application of fertilizer, and so on, to farming, thanks to sometimes over farming, sometimes due to market-driven crop rotation or crop selection, has led to the erosion of some of those levels of nutrients. So you may not be able to get enough of some of the essentials like potassium from these other faraway lands, but you may also not have a reasonable starting point in your agricultural base of topsoils and farmlands in general. So this will have different levels of impact on different localities. As Peter has said, the United States, the region of North America, Canada has a lot of ice. It's very cold, so south of Canada, mostly, really rich farmlands, but still not what they once were. So the ability to grow food in some quantities, provide access to that food, could also yield medical supplies that are sometimes based in agriculture. These will also have impacts on places that don't have access to these things that are depending on global supply chains. So the ability to ship food, like even things simple like rice and wheat and corn in vast quantities to feed national populations, sharing medical supplies, especially in dire times, and sometimes essential other supplies for building shelters and performing other socially important things like transporting people and goods and so on. So the materials needed to build those things or to build out the infrastructure for those things. Some things may not be available until they're not. And then the fun begins. So yeah, in supply chains, whether food may become the second hottest topic, right behind access to potable water. And what might this cost the unlucky? If you've ever come here to Vegas in the summer, there are people that can't handle that. Now imagine no drinkable water, and it's only getting hot. We can add in some other considerations that are not nearly so easy to describe. And not that these were easy. I'm not a technically savvy enough subject matter expert, if you will, to really dive into these. Hence, an invitation to others who might be. Who can call themselves what? That's another good question that we will not dive into today. Who can make themselves happy in their own skin for the short lives we all have? Who decides what medical treatments you're allowed? Who can kill or injure whom and get away with it? And who can be killed or injured by our own legal system despite all signs pointing the other way? And that's just scratching the surface of the headlines of the last day, week. There is a lot. And with each of us having a particular ideology, inclination, and intent when it comes to the various tools and technologies we have, and often misuse, there is always a possibility that a group you are a part of prefers one thing that you agree with, but some other thing you do not. Keeping track of the sea changes, the tides coming in and out, who wants what, who believes in what, who's backing whom, who endorses who, which person is which historical despot. Periodic perfect storms do not help, nor does the cacophony of conversation, argument, debate, discussion, all of which you should be participating in, unfortunately. So to summarize, we have all of the trappings of a capable planet to continue to develop in all areas, maybe develop non-chemical propulsion schemes and venture to faraway places. Capable planet. We could do it. We can do it if we want. Do we have the people who know what to do, people who have ideas about what could be done? We do not seem to know how to use these things at scale. So there aren't enough people who know what to do or who can convince enough people that they know what to do. So we are often misled, misinformed, or just mistaken. Many bad things are preventable. Many good things go unnoticed or misunderstood. Bad news always gets the press. We give into motivated reasoning and confirmation bias and other reasoning issues and make unforced errors that get masked by the same motivated reasoning and confirmation bias that got us there. Wash, rinse, repeat. So despite all of our technology, all of the tools at our fingertips, all of the information we have available to us, the ability to communicate, to ask questions, hopefully get good answers, the floating vague definition of what good is in that case even might be part of the problem. So where to begin? Now's the part where we talk about what we can do about all these things. There is no way that anyone would come away from a solo podcast that will probably go for under an hour today without, or even imagining that there will be some sort of that's what we need to do. But some things to think about. First, we must understand our world and how facts and information work. I heard from somebody, they've been saying, a lot of people are saying, this is not how real communication happens. Technology can help. Some acquire new understanding via science, research, analysis, and the rest. So some people will do that, and the rest need to understand when they are consuming facts, and then maybe they're feasting on empty calories for the sake of monetizing a YouTuber. So sometimes it's good stuff. Sometimes it sounds good, but it's crap. Sorry, I had to pause there for a sec. My air conditioner came on. I thought I turned it off. I did actually. It's a schedule thing, and it puts noise into the audio here. Anyway, so you're monetizing YouTubers, listening to their own opinions that sometimes align with yours, and that's why we like to listen. Confirmation bias, it's real. Individuals must proactively seek this understanding, use their own trusted technology even. Trust is a technology nowadays, by the way. even though I did mistype that in my notes here. But trust, the infrastructure of trust, the circle of trust, the ways of proving and confirming and verifying trust and so on. Even that is a thing. So, but use your trusted technologies, the things that you know and can rely on, information sources and so on. They have to be falsifiable. That means that you have to be able to test them. If you just listen to what some talking head says, consider the source. Even your teacher in school, you never know. You have to organize these incoming bits, and technology is there for you. How many different applications exist now to take notes? Who's using them? I use Obsidian, by the way. Notion is popular. There's a huge list. You can write things down. It's okay. Don't bookmark, which I think bookmarks are dead now, right? I bookmark things all the time. Don't just rely on a TikToker or a YouTuber to tell you stuff. Now, the incoming information can be used to overwhelm. It might not even be useful information. It's being hurled at you to keep you off, to give up. Like, there's too much to know. I'll just vote this way. I'll spend my money on that thing. If you agree with people for the sake of their agenda, maybe they've accomplished what they set out to do. Rather than informing you, they've just acquired more listeners. I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but when you monetize argument, when you monetize dissent, when you monetize passion and anger, people want that. So that we can maintain a modicum of awareness about our societies and our world, we have to get around that. We have to learn to reject the things that are not useful, that are not correct or true. This is itself an overwhelming task, a full-time job perhaps. So what I'm proposing here is not easy by any means. Unfortunately, our technology is being used for profit gains, for gains in general, profit gains, power gains, not necessarily to keep individuals informed, and that's up to you. You should know about food supplies, water supplies. You should know where potassium comes from, given that it is so important. Do you know water is pretty important too? You can't last more than, I want to say it's about 4 days, but your mileage may vary. You try going a couple of days without water, and then when you hear arguments about how, they're fining people for using too much water. Well, just imagine if you didn't have any. Good times. Keeping track of health and well-being, not only of yourself, but those around you. How many times have you read about listeria, E. coli, other food contamination leading to massive food recalls? You should be keeping aware of those things. Well, can you also not keep track of where things are coming from, what's going on with food in general and how that's impacting well-being, what's going on with local illness? I just read yesterday or this morning, the EEE virus, it sounds like a ride at Disneyland, is ride tickets, e-ticket rides. Yeah. The EEE virus, whatever that, I don't even know what that means, is making a good showing in New York on the east part of the U.S. So who knows when it will get to Vegas, probably today. Knowing these things, being somewhat aware, it's a lot like checking the weather. You should know when the wind is blowing. If you've ever been to a farmer's market or any event with portable tents, they got to know when the wind is coming because all those will blow away in a good wind. So knowing what's going on, where the wind is blowing is good. And we have the tools and technology, and we have a device in our pockets to know and to make informed decisions around those things that we know. There's good and bad information. You have to know where to get good information, reject bad information, of course. Trusted information sources, not easy to come by unless they tend to be correct, provably correct over time. So, the weather, your weather person, your meteorologist or weather reader, if they're wrong every day, you stop listening to them. But you have to know that they're wrong to make that decision, or you have to know they're right. And you can actually just go outside and see if they're like, it's going to rain today. And you look and by the way, I always get rain forecast in various weather applications on my mobile device, and sunny skies where I am in Vegas. So who knows what they're talking about. But bottom line, you can verify some things. Some other things you need to put in a little bit more effort. But if you place your trust in information and information sources that are literally wrong, then what are you doing? And the list of things to actually keep track of goes up, and that's a challenge. There's always more. Perhaps most important, establish positions on social and moral issues that you can justify for yourself so that you will have a place of reason with which to begin conversations, discussions, and perhaps debate. Why is this important? Why is it important that I say this? Why should I have anything to do with what you think about these things? I'm not telling you what to think, but I am suggesting that you do think. Taking rational positions, especially where population impact is at issue, right? It doesn't affect just you, something that you are a part of or want to be a part of or want to see changed or happen could have drastic impacts on others. Then it becomes important to others. If you can actually take these rational positions and you think about them, you can discuss them in a rational way, is a sign of adoption of modernity, which is good. Where we have the information, the technology, and the communication resources to be aware and to learn about change if needed is right here in modernity. We have all those things. We should be using them. And we should demand change and improvement that society deserves. In other words, once you establish your rational position that you can defend, it's not that you have to defend because you're wrong, but you should be able to say why. Has anyone ever said, hey, why do you, the big one for any relationship, why are you with me? Why do you love me? Why do you like me? If you can't answer that, maybe you're doing something wrong. Why do you think this? Why do you think that? You should be able to say something other than, well, that's what everybody else thinks. That's what I heard on the internet. That's what I read on some social network. So you should take positions and understand why you're taking them. This is part of modernity. This is our understanding the world around us in these modern times. You can no longer claim to believe that, pick something not obvious. The earth is a spheroid. If you believe the earth is flat, you are rejecting science, facts, evidence. If you choose to do that, you should have a reasonable defense to justify your position if asked to defend it. Do you need to defend it every day? No. Most people probably don't care if you think the world is flat. But if it has an impact on other people, suddenly it becomes important. And you should understand why you've made that position yours. And you should be able to, not that you should be attacked, but you should be able to justify your positions, your decisions, because you have thought about it. Your answer to why is the world flat may be, well, I read some research papers by these people and I did my own research. You don't need to go up into space. You don't need to go sail a boat and watch the mast fall on the horizon. You don't need to do a lot of practical research. Practical experimentation, but you can read about those who have and how they've all been disproved. So if you can take a position on something and there are science, research, evidence supporting or not supporting your position, it's good to know those things. You will have a better sense of where the world is around you if you know where you are in it. And the same can apply to technology. The same can apply to medical, food sources, all these things. The more you know, the more you understand, the better position you are in. If there are questions to ask, you may have questions. You should know when and whom to ask. And then you should kind of have a feeling whether their answer makes any sense. And then what to do with that. It's being part of a modern world. So how do we continue this? These are just ideas. They're my ideas. Once again, this, like so many of the FFS Talk topics, are great beginnings, I think, for further discussion. They're not really suggestions, although they may have sounded like directives. Who am I? Who am I to tell you or judge you? Each must decide what is important and how best to make use of what we have around us to continue to be a part of what we have around us. You should be an active participant. You don't need to go out and invent things. Although I would like you to. I talk about that all the time in some of my other programs. You don't need to be changing the world, but you need to change with the world. You really do. Because it's not such a bad place. Probably the worst parts of the world are a result of people not changing with it. Let's be honest. My view, we have a collection of tools and infrastructure at our fingertips, some of it in dire need of upgrades and maintenance, especially our infrastructure. No more social security numbers, please. And there's a lot of things that really need some attention. But we continue to depend on, rely on, and place trust in broken systems. I just named at least one. Long since compromised, same one, or about to collapse. How many bridges fall down? Don't even look up how many trains get derailed. There's this morning a train was derailed. I think it was an Amtrak train. Penn Station, was it? So transit issues getting around on your train route will be compromised for a little while. Trains derailing. That's crazy. Why? Oh, because we're rolling on rails. Other parts of the world have moved on to their own version of modernity with maglev and similar. We are digging tunnels so cars can drive underground. Not auto-driving cars. We have that in Vegas too, I know. We just don't have a complete handle on what we have and what we could have and what we have that is broken. So adopt modernity, I suggest. It will be good for you. Watching TikTok videos all day may fill the void or quell the boredom, but there is so much you and we, me included, could be doing with all of this. And yet, and that is where today's episode ends. I do thank you for listening. Looks like we are under an hour. When I truncate silence, it'll probably be more like I'm seeing 46 minutes and 20 seconds. So when I truncate silence, it usually knocks off about 5 minutes. These are any pauses longer than 0.7 seconds, in case you're curious. I'll remind you to check out buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo. There are websites coming. I've talked about this before. I don't want to talk about things in the future so much as in the present. So once these various things, there are 4 audio programs I produce each week, all different. And Innovate for Vegas Foundation, very busy with some of that stuff. 2 entrepreneurial efforts that I talk about in the Cafe Genius Impresarios. If you are an entrepreneur, or you have an entrepreneurial bent and you want to chit-chat on the Impresarios audio program, come on by. Where can I find these and the Let's Innovate for Vegas program and the Quaggling Sand program? Well, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. They're all linked from there. And on that note, and remember, you don't have to pay anything. This is all free. I don't even have advertising, although that could change, but not in the foreseeable. Make use of technology to improve the world, not to ignore it. Welcome to the party. It's in 2024. Take care.